Today we join the rest of the world in commemorating International Day of the Girl Child. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. We use this platform to share how government is accelerating its development agenda by empowering our women and girls. Females represent half of the world's population and half of its potential. Creating a gender-equal world will not only achieve peaceful societies, but also increase productivity and economic growth. Here in Jamaica, women are at the forefront of all aspects of national life. They continue to make their mark, and we salute their efforts as we endeavor to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and retire in paradise.
It's time for us to get it right. Equal rights and justice for our men and women. Equality.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, October 11. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says new vaccination policies are to be implemented after the government completes its public education campaign. While the policies are being worked on, the state will ramp up its vaccination mobilization tours across the island.
We will respect people's rights. We will follow the process before we do anything that would infringe on anybody's rights. But the two things can't continue in parallel. The children must go back to school. They have suffered the most. And so there will come a time when we will have to insist upon persons taking the vaccines or be restricted.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking during Thursday's tour of vaccination blitz sites in north central Clarendon. Mr. Holness reiterated his appeal for persons to take the COVID-19 vaccines, as it is the safest avenue for the country to return to normal.
If you want to return to normal, if you want to go party, if you want to check your friend past 10, take the vaccine. Those who don't take the vaccines remain the host population for the reproduction and possible mutation of the virus. The consequence of that is that people who would have taken the vaccine face the potential of being infected by a mutated version of the virus for which the original vaccine they took would not be as effective.
Cabinet this morning had its first in-person meeting since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in March of last year. The weekly meetings chaired by Prime Minister Andrew Holness were held virtually in line with the government's COVID-19 protocols. But with all ministers, including cabinet ministers, the Attorney General and ministers of state fully vaccinated, weekly in-person meetings have resumed.
Today, we have taken the decision to return our cabinet to face-to-face, not just for the effectiveness of our decision-making, but as a symbol to the rest of the country that, yes, we are still in a pandemic. However, we must transition to living with the COVID-19 disease and the coronavirus that causes it.
In the meantime, the vaccine take-up by the island's teachers has been favorable. Acting Chief Education Officer Dr. Kassan Troop made the disclosure during Sunday's Get the Facts interview on JIS TV. Earlier this year, as part of the strategy for a resumption of face-to-face classes, the government launched a special support program to get educators vaccinated. Dr. Troop says the inoculation of teachers as well as students aged 12 to 18 years old is part of the risk ranking analysis guiding the safe reopening of physical school.
It is our plan that beyond the midterm break, in October, we should be able to get some instructions out of our cabinet to advise our school leaders and parents as to how we will do this on a phased basis to make sure that we do not compromise safety at this time.
The acting chief education officer says once the secondary level schools meet the Ministry of Health and Wellness's 65% vaccination mandate, a determination will be made for the resumption of in-person classes. Dr. Troop says the reopening of face-to-face school at the primary level will be determined by the school's enrollment numbers as well as the feasibility of implementing strict COVID-19 prevention measures. Still on education, outstanding payments to teachers who participated in the ministry's National Summer School program are to be completed by mid-October. Permanent Secretary in the ministry, Dr. Grace McLean, says of the over 3,500 teachers who participated in the sessions, only 950 teachers' payments were yet to be processed. Dr. McLean made the disclosure during a virtual post-cabinet press briefing recently.
We are committed to ensuring that all our teachers will be paid by at least the mid-October, which is next week, Friday.
Dr. McLean says the delay is due to the detailed vetting process utilized to facilitate the disbursement of payments. To remedy this, Bursa-paid institutions have been instructed to issue payments. Teachers who have not received payment by mid-October should contact their respective regional offices. Cabinet has approved a proposal for the establishment of 7 years of secondary education in Jamaica. Information Minister Favour Williams says the move will allow all students to have access to learning opportunities up to grade 13.
The mainstreaming of a 7-year program of educational training and experience is expected to meet the needs of students more efficiently and effectively and respond to local and international demands vis-à-vis 21st century skills, competencies, and certification.
Minister Williams was speaking during a recent post-cabinet press briefing. She argued that as Jamaica seeks to become more globally competitive, appropriate investments had to be made in education to give students access to even greater opportunities. And finally, 6 domestic violence intervention centers, DVICs, will be in full operation across 6 police stations by the end of this month. The centers, which were handed over during a virtual ceremony last Thursday, are in the parishes of St. Catherine, St. Mary, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, and Westmoreland. The new facilities will add to the 4 existing centers at the Constant Spring and Matilda's Corner police stations in St. Andrew and the Morant Bay and the Yallis police stations in St. Thomas. Minister of Gender Olivia Grange says the establishment of the DVICs forms part of the government's efforts to address gender-based violence by strengthening the JCF's ability to respond and provide support to victims and family members.
It represents a major achievement in our response to the long-standing problem of domestic violence. These centers are strategically placed and will play a critical role in the delivery of service island-wide to support the implementation of the National Strategic Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence in Jamaica.
I'm confident that having these facilities in place will not only strengthen the capacity of the police to rescue and support victims of domestic violence in their families, but importantly, these centers will provide a refuge and a beacon of hope for these victims.
Since the start of the year, 175 police personnel in domestic violence intervention and 704 domestic violence cases were referred to the existing centers up to September. The domestic violence intervention centers are the result of a collaboration between the European Union and the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. It's being carried out under the Jamaica Spotlight Initiative, which supports concrete measures to end violence against women and girls. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Encourage those around you who have not gotten their vaccine to get it. We all need to be protected for each of us to feel protected. It's a one for all for one type of scenario. Don't use the side effects to discourage others, because I've had the vaccine myself. It is your body building the protection against the virus. And so interpret the side effects as a positive thing. Don't use the side effects to not take the second dose. To achieve the full protection, you need the second dose.
Government is serious about inclusivity, especially towards our girls. See one aspect of the state's drive through the work of the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation.
At the age of 14 years old, I found out that I was pregnant. It was a very devastating experience.
I didn't have anyone. Everyone was just looking down at me. And I really thought that it was the end, you know?
Just like these two, teenage pregnancy often seems to signal a daunting battle for many girls in Jamaica. But that frightening vision is becoming less and less of a reality, thanks to the efforts of the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation.
I applaud your selfless service. What started off 40 years ago as a response to the high level of teenage pregnancies has become a national program with 10 different centers offering quality education.
That applause from the wife of the President of Kenya, the Honorable Margaret Kenyatta, came in early August on an official visit to Jamaica. Under the banner of the Ministry of Gender, the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation has served approximately 46,000 adolescent mothers in 4 critical areas: academics, which includes education and skills training; outreach, for those who cannot access the main centers; adolescent mother health, where they provide health services for beneficiaries; and counseling on family life education. But that's not all.
The Women's Center program for teenage mothers began with 6 clients right here. And in 40 years, the program has served more than 46,000 adolescent mothers and has expanded to include 7 main centers and 11 outreach stations across the island.
I am Kinshasa Johnson, and I'm a past student of the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation. At the age of 14 years old, I found out that I was pregnant. It was a very devastating experience at that very moment. I had to come to terms with the fact that I was not only a child anymore, but I was going to become a parent. Now, at that very moment, I signed up to become a student at the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation. I started attending the center when I was 14 years old, and at that time they had a bus fare program here, so young ladies who weren't financially able to find money to come to school every day, we would be granted a bus fare to come to school the following morning. So I had my baby and I was home for approximately a month, and I came back to school because I had the grade 9 achievement test. Now, hearing that I passed for a traditional high school was a bittersweet moment because I didn't have it financially, so even though I was very close to my dream, it seemed very much far. And it was at that very moment that the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation decided to assist me financially to go back to school. The center opened many doors for me, and one of those doors was to be a child delegate at the it was the Child Development Agency at that time. It's now the Child Family and Protection Services. And I was a child delegate where we assisted the CEO and the executive management team by telling them about matters that affect children. And it was there that I started working as a summer worker. And so I say this to say that we were young, and I don't view it as a mistake. It's a part of our journey, and it is a part of our lesson, because today I can say that I have become a totally different person because of my son. because I know that I have to pave a path for him that is clearer than the one that I had. And I have to assist him in every way possible. And I could not have done that without the help of the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation.
I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and it was just so devastating. And I was just 15 and I'm saying to myself, how am I going to maintain myself? How am I going to maintain a baby? So when I got here, I met some really amazing people who inspired me so much. At that point, I didn't want to hurt myself anymore, and for the first time in a long while, I started to smile. And I went home and I started writing in my journal, and I said to myself, I can make it. I'm gonna make it out of this.
So let me congratulate all you girls for your unyielding resilience and courage, for taking on the responsibilities of being young mothers, yet recognizing the importance of education in unlocking your future, for refusing to be left behind.
40 years ago, teenage pregnancy meant a dead end for many young girls. It was the guarantee of a future of misery, a life of poverty, exclusion, and dependence. The pregnant teenager's education would come to an end, and her job prospects would disappear. That was before the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation was established.
We are in a race against time, to reverse the effects of climate change by one simple action which has positive and enduring effects. That's right, plant a tree, leave a lasting legacy. Join the My Tree Legacy promotion by planting a tree at your alma mater and share your work with us. Submit videos and pictures of you, your family, your friends, and colleagues planting trees. Every tree counts. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
As we celebrate Heritage Week for the next 7 days, we highlight our lone female national hero, Nanny of the Maroons.
Nanny, nanny, oh. Yeah, yeah. Nanny, nanny, oh.
Mante, my name is Marcia Douglas, currently the acting colonel of the Charleston Maroon community, the chief.
Welcome to our newsletter.
So the role of Nanny of the Maroon in Freedom for the Maroon is that she provide, or she make herself into the diligent leader that one would have been looking for. One with spirituality, one with the zeal of moving on, and one with the zeal to protect. And so what she did was to ensure that her people had been served the right way, in which she ensures that they were no longer in slavery. So what she did was to undermine the British on the plantation with the help of her two sisters, Mishibo Kwashi and Shanti Rose. And so doing that, they took their people to the mountains where they had an advantage over the British. The British had to import dogs or bloodhounds from Cuba to hunt them down. Now later on, when the treaty was signed and Jamaica gained independence, it was really a hard tussle for people to recognize Nanny for who she was. Thanks to recent Colonel Harris of Moortown, who had made that one of his deepest dream and one of his aims, one of the most sustainable things that he was going to work on, so that Nanny could have been today the national heroine of Jamaica.
Here's how we sign the alphabet.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sign with me?
We are in Heritage Month, and what better way to celebrate our rich culture than through our indigenous dances? Today, we highlight the Tambu dance that's prevalent in the parish of Trelawney.
There's no one way to truly play the beat of our Jamaican culture. No one way to unfold the depth of the various movements that are intricately intertwined with the drums, or whatever uniquely made instruments that accompany each other. And certainly, no one way to shake our hips, tap our feet, move our hands or dress to distinguish the truest form of our heritage in dance. But there are certainly several ways to tell the island's tale of musical artistry and infectious rhythms. Today, we tell the story of the African retention in one of our Jamaican traditional folk forms, Tambu.
Among Jamaica's more than 10 traditional folk forms, most are heavily influenced by our African heritage and retention. In today's feature, we zoom in on one of them, Tambu.
Me say me tambo, me tambo, me tambo, eh.
Tambo aya.
Tambo, 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 eh.
Tambo aya.
Me say me tambo, me tambo, me tambo, eh.
Tambo aya.
To witness the underlying beat of this treasure, we journeyed to the award-winning William Knibb High School in Trelawney, which has mastered the presentation of this art form.
Bear me head, but no bear me foot and a cool shady. Bear me head, but no bear me foot and a cool shady.
So welcome to the Tambo Parish, which is Trelawney. This dance was originated in Wakefield. It basically practiced. Well, we do the Tambo dance now for entertainment purposes or for the JCDC Inter-Performing Arts, where we try to showcase the Tambo dance. You know, it is a cultural dance and we want to maintain our cultural heritage.
Tambu is a lively and flirtatious dance derived from the French word tambour, meaning drums. Its lineage is also traced to the word tumba, which has been reported by the Congo people. Tambu is closely related to music and dance practices in the wider West Indies and the Virgin Islands. The dance shares movements similar to those of the Bele of Martinique and Guadeloupe and can be compared to the Bambula, which was danced in the 19th century in Louisiana. Today, Tambu is considered one of the many death observances of Jamaica.
Mariah lose her baby. Say copy Lisa Tambo, Mariah lose her baby.
In Tambo, you will observe couples advancing and retreating. They also often progress with a shuffle step, with the feet flat on the ground.
In terms of the movement now, the Tambo have basic movement. We have what we call the cheche, marumba, right? Now you have the shake or the stallion. So this is one, right? You have the marumba, right? And some what's called the shake or the stallion. So you see the men, the ladies will do the twirl with their arms, and you'll find the males.
Like most of our African retention folk forms, there are a number of musical instruments that accompany the singing of the dancers. At the moment, you are witnessing the beating of the tambour drum and the catastics. The catastics play a steady pattern that does not change and leads the drummers to give more drive to the dance.
With the tambo, as you notice with the videos, each time the movement changes, and the movement changes with the beating of the drum. So the drum actually tells the dancers which movement they are to do as it relates to the dance.
The number of performers in tambo range from 12 to 16 dancers, both male and female. And like all the other African retention folk forms, there is a specific dress code for both genders.
The general attire for the African retention dances. For the ladies, they dress loose dress with peasant top or skirt and peasant top blouse. And for the male, it's supposed to be tailored pants and like a dashiki shirt.
Today, tambo is mostly practiced in its home parish, Trelawney. But it is also currently performed as part of the annual JCDC Festival of the Performing Arts Competition. Whether it is practiced, one will clearly see that tambo has its own unique flavor, a necessary ingredient in the multifaceted melting pot of our heritage. It is a Jamaican traditional folk form.
Come, gentlemen, come. 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 Dear lady. Dear lady. Dear lady. Dear lady.
And that's all the time we have here on this station. Keep the lines of communication open. Send emails to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Also, join us on all the major social media platforms, visit our website and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And catch up with us while on the go by downloading our mobile app. We are here for you. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.